how to overcome your diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes by reducing insulin resistance. In this week's video, we will talk specifically about insulin resistance, which may be making it difficult for you to better control your glucose, lower your glycated hemoglobin, and most importantly, continue using your medications. So a very important video. Take advantage of it. Watch until the end because I am sure you will leave here learning more and more. In Brazil, there are almost 20 million people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. The vast majority are type 2 diabetics, and this is a very alarming statistic. Not to mention that we already have over 40 million people diagnosed with prediabetes, meaning they have slightly elevated glucose levels, as well as individuals who have no idea that they already have elevated glucose, which is an indication of prediabetes. In other words, just in these situations, we are already talking about almost 60 million people who have some type of insulin resistance. And in this week's video, we will talk exactly about it, about how insulin resistance negatively impacts your health and causes your glucose levels to rise, favoring an increase in your glycated hemoglobin and forcing, so to speak, the doctor to start prescribing medication, that is, prescribing glyphage, prescribing glibenclamide, prescribing Januvia, prescribing Janumet, Farxiga, and so on. In this week's video, we will talk about prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, where insulin resistance is directly related to the lifestyle you have been leading at home. In other words, insulin resistance does not appear out of nowhere. It arises from your sedentary lifestyle, your unregulated diet, your high stress levels, and your increased body weight. And these are factors that ultimately contribute to the increase in insulin resistance. Once insulin resistance sets in, it makes it more difficult for the hormone called insulin to perform its role, which is to take all the circulating glucose in your bloodstream and transport it into the cell. So glucose ends up remaining in the bloodstream, meaning that when you do a finger prick test or a laboratory test, your circulating glucose is at 50, 160, or 100, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, and so on. So that is why it is important to understand insulin resistance in order to overcome your diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and also of prediabetes. It is very important for you to understand these factors in order to reduce insulin resistance and thereby promote a decrease in your circulating glucose in the bloodstream, which will consequently lower your glycated hemoglobin, reduce your body weight, and thus decrease the need to use medications to control your glucose. And this is how you overcome the diagnosis of prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. It will not be a single change in your life, a miracle tea or a miracle food that will solve all your insulin resistance problems, but rather several factors that will help. It can indeed be a tea that will help reduce that excess circulating glucose. It can also be a food that contains more fiber, which will help you avoid a spike in blood sugar. But it is a combination of actions that will favor your victory against the diagnosis of diabetes. So you already understand that insulin resistance is the main factor that will make it difficult to control your glucose. And how do we change that, Edu? We change it based on what I just said. Improving the diet, reducing carbohydrate intake, eating more proteins, more vegetables, more greens, more leafy greens, and more good sources of fat, while starting to engage in physical activity, walking for 30 minutes every day, doing some running in the park in your neighborhood, using a stationary bike at home, working out on a treadmill at the gym, doing weight training at the gym, swimming at a club, or participating in water aerobics. This is how you will reduce your body weight and consequently achieve a decrease in insulin resistance. When you decrease insulin resistance, you greatly facilitate the role of the insulin that your body still produces, which is to take all the glucose in the bloodstream and transport it into the cells to be converted into energy. This way, you gradually reduce your glucose levels, lower your glycated hemoglobin, and most importantly, decrease the chance of complications arising in the medium and long term. For example, diabetic neuropathy is very common. People experience pain in their legs, feel numbness in their feet, and have sharp pains. We also have diabetic foot. Due to people losing sensitivity in their feet, they may not notice a small sore that starts to appear between their toes, and this sore can worsen, become necrotic, and potentially lead to amputation. There are also problems in the retina known as diabetic retinopathy, which means that a person can go blind if they do not control their glucose levels. Additionally, we have diabetic nephropathy, which refers to kidney problems. The kidney cannot filter the high levels of glucose in the bloodstream and ends up suffering injuries, which can lead the kidneys to failure, meaning the patient needs to undergo a kidney transplant. Handling the diagnosis of diabetes is no joke. We often observe that people procrastinate, leaving it for the next year when they will have another checkup with the doctor. They do not take the medications as prescribed, do not change their lifestyle habits, do not engage in physical activity, do not eat well, and are always extremely stressed. Unfortunately, stress also greatly harms the condition of diabetics. So it is important that you seek ways to relieve the stress of your daily life. I know it's not easy. We have many circumstances that bring us stress daily, but it is essential that you seek ways, seek paths to reduce your stress, and in this way, reducing your insulin resistance, decreasing the need to take medications to control your glucose, and maintaining good eating habits will help keep your glucose always controlled, with your glycated hemoglobin consistently below 5.5 or 5.0. This way, you will gain more health, vitality, and self-esteem, and you will have a greater will to live. Additionally, you can directly reduce liver fat, lower elevated uric acid levels, decrease high triglyceride levels, and reduce high levels of bad cholesterol. Everything is associated with how you are conducting your life. So it is essential that you start changing habits from now on. As I have mentioned several times here on the channel, the treatment for those diagnosed with diabetes is done at home through the changes they make in their refrigerator, in their mindset, based on the choices they make regarding what to eat, how to nourish themselves throughout the day, and starting to exercise and so on. So, this video serves to help you understand once and for all, there is no miracle. There is no miraculous tea. No tea that will melt away your glucose, or that food that will eliminate high glucose levels. Instead, there are changes in habits that will bring benefits to your overall health, not just reduce glucose. So, think about this, question it, Here on the channel, there are several videos where I talk about smart eating, so start changing your diet. I will leave here a series of videos for you to continue watching and thus start the changes you have been planning since the beginning of the year. And we are already halfway through the year, and you still haven't started the changes you so desperately need to take better care of your health, to continue being with your family in good health, enjoying your children, your grandchildren, your companions, and so on. So think about it and always do your best, okay? If you are still watching, it means you enjoyed the content, and if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, turn on notifications, and most importantly, share the videos from this channel with that friend of yours who still hasn't managed to control their glucose. After all, it costs you nothing to share it on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp. And so the channel continues to evolve, continues to grow. And now I want you to stop everything you are doing and leave your rating here from 0 to 10. What is the value of this video that was posted today? This way I can post more motivational videos, or I can post more detailed videos discussing some terms that many people do not know, such as insulin resistance. So leave your comments, give your rating, as it is very important for the channel, okay? Here on the side, I will leave more great content, so be sure to keep binge watching the channel's videos, learning more about diabetes, quality of life, nutrition, and health, so you can live better and with much more vitality. All right, so we will leave it here. May God be with you all, and see you soon.